So I've got some filter-free feedback about feedback that I'd love to share if you're willing to listen. And it has to do with this idea that feedback is a gift. I have heard it in countless books and trainings and meetings and conferences, and every time I hear it, I just want to throw up in my mouth a little bit. So here's a disclaimer. I get it. I need to be open to feedback. I need to eat the meat, spit out the bones. I need to mine for the treasure buried within the feedback and not to get distracted by the delivery. I know I need to learn from it, grow from it, recognize my triggers associated with it, insert whatever data point you want. I get all those things and I believe all those things. And I still think the idea that I have to treat feedback like a gift all the time is a bunch of BS. Please don't judge me too harshly. End of disclaimer, back to our regularly scheduled programming. So the idea that feedback is a gift, it's not bad. People that can receive feedback, they've proven to be happier in life. They are easier to work with and for, and they are incredible continuous learners. The challenge is that many times when I hear people talk about and train on giving and receiving feedback, there is little mention, if any, of how to decline it, or even if we're allowed to decline it and reject it all outright. I believe we need to understand the skills and the practices associated with rejecting feedback in as loving a way as possible and convey very clearly to others that sometimes they just need to take their feedback and shove it. Feedback is not always a gift. Sometimes, beloved, I believe feedback is used as a weapon. You see, gifts don't hurt. Gifts don't damage. They don't cross emotional boundaries or traumatize. If those are the kind of gifts you want to give to me, leave it on the back door. I don't want it. Those are called weapons. Those are called violations. And my perspective is that you don't always need to open yourself up to feedback. When we signal that we are always open to feedback from all people, it can create really weird issues with boundaries. And it can offer the false impression that everyone suddenly has the ability to speak into all aspects of your life and into your space. Being able to reject feedback well and set boundaries is just as important as being able to give feedback in ways that others can hear. So before I give you a couple of my favorite tips on how to give and decline feedback, I think it's important for you to learn to set an intention when it comes to feedback. So whether you are the one giving, receiving, or rejecting a perspective, check yourself. Check on yourself before you check on others. Before you go and give the feedback, ask yourself a question. Is my intention right now to be right and to have the answer? Or is my intention to speak in a way that the other person will actually hear me? So if you just want to prove you're right, then get something off your chest, by all means, go and give that feedback and don't be surprised if you piss people off. But if you want people to hear you or approach you, then you need to check your intention. So here's a couple of my favorite tips related to feedback. The first one, when it comes to giving feedback, tip number one would be ask permission. By saying something like, can I share something with you that I hope one day you would be willing to share with me? And if the other person says sure, then by all means, go for it. But if they say, you know what, now is not a good time, then drop it and move along. My second tip regarding how to reject feedback is this. If or when someone comes to you and they say that they have feedback for you, feel free to jump in and say, you know what, I'm willing to listen. And I want you to know that I may not end up taking your feedback. I get it. This is an assertive stance. And I've not used it all the time, but I have used it when I'm dealing with those that consider feedback giving to be their own spiritual gift or personal side hustle in life. You know who those people are. I know who those people are. They are the chronic critics. Special note on this one, here's some fine print. I would not recommend using this particular tip when it comes to performance evaluations that you are receiving from your boss. Just want to make sure you know that. While you do have this option, if you use this option in conversations with your boss, you may find yourself in a bit of a pickle. At the end of the day, I just want to help you increase the likelihood that your feedback will land. I want to help increase the likelihood that you will be heard and have greater impact. So remember, you have permission and the right to give, receive, and reject feedback. That's what I'm thinking about, and I hope you're well.